Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another fun and exciting episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy, and on this episode, we are talking nutrition and how to make good food choices. I am sitting down with the author of I Hungry, and she goes through so many great tips and tricks to make sure that you're getting the proper nutrition, because food is medicine, and how you feel and how you think and your clarity really comes down to what you're putting in your body. So she gives us a bunch of advice on kind of how to track what you're eating, how to make sure you're not consistently eating the same thing over and over again. She talks about food variety, how to make sure you aren't going to parties hungry, and what you can do to help your kids eat healthier and to make better food choices. She's got some fun tips and tricks that get them involved so they're more excited about making these better decisions. We talk about seed oils. We talk about the oils that you should cook with and eat versus the oils you should absolutely avoid. We touch on water intake, fasting. We talk about everything. So this is the episode to make you healthier. So if you want to learn more about nutrition and just to get better stuff into your diet, this is the episode. I absolutely love this. I took down all these notes while we were talking, and I am so inspired to get rid of some stuff and start adding in some other healthier alternatives. So I hope you enjoy this episode. We will be right back with our guest after this brief message.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I just wanted to remind you to make sure you grab a copy of my book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up. It is a great, funny self-help book that is going to help you get out of your own way. I have already helped thousands and thousands of people, and they are on their way to living their dream life, and I want every listener to be able to live their dream life as well. So grab a copy of the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or even the audiobook on Audible. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. We are with our guest on this episode of Next to Madison. I'm super excited to have her. She is the author of a new book called I Hungry. She's also a health coach, a nutritionist, an entrepreneur. She's a jack of all trades, and I'm so excited to have her on here because we're going to be talking about healthy eating, and it's so important. And I've got so many questions for her because I think that your nutrition just impacts every part of your life. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Ruth Katz to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So let's start with the inspiration behind this book, I Hungry.
So I wrote this book when my kids were 10 and now they're 20.
Okay.
So so it started off with my journey, how I became a healthy person, because I grew up with all these food sensitivities, but back then they didn't know they were food sensitivities. So I was just a not well child with not getting proper nutrients. So It was the journey. It's a story of the journey, how I became healthy. And then once I had kids, I was going to give them a life that they didn't have. So it was really a whole learning experience. And when my kids were younger and they were eating so well, all the school moms were like, how do you get your kids to eat like that? Ruth, just tell us what to do. Just write us a book.
Yeah, I love that. So what did you do? Because it is hard with parents. I'm not a parent, but I have nieces and friends that all have kids. And it is hard to get them not to eat mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, all that crap.
Well, the book is for everybody, because it's about what's in food today, because we don't really understand how our food is treated compared to other countries.
Yeah.
And so look at your own diet. I suggest in here to do a food diary for 2 weeks and write down everything that you're eating, because you'll be surprised at how much you're having too much of things, because you want rotation in your diet. And then there are things that you are lacking because we get in the routine of the path of least resistance and we don't expand our palates. And to understand that what's in food, there's horrible preservatives in food these days.
Yeah.
Much worse than even when we were growing up. It just gets worse in the different generations.
Yeah. They always say if you want to eat healthy, just eat from nature. So your fruits, your vegetables, your meats. But then you've got all these chemicals that are sprayed all over this crop too. So you have to be careful about which produce you pick.
Right. I talk about eating whole foods, how it came to the earth. It's all pictures here of fresh fruits and vegetables, because you want to eat as close to the earth as it comes as possible. And if you need to do 1 or 2 steps removed, that'd be something different. So let's say I eat coconut yogurt, but I want to have the least amount. It didn't come to the earth in that format, but maybe it has coconut and maybe some probiotics, and you want 1 or 2 things, but as close to nature as possible.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But I think what people struggle with too is like everybody's on the go. And so it's like, how do you get all this stuff on the go? I mean, what do you think about this? Like when I'm in New York and I'm so busy, this is literally what I'll eat. I'll eat like Dr. Prager's veggie burger and then an avocado, like an entire avocado.
I always have snacks on me. I always have food in my bag. I am prepared. I have raw almonds. I have great health bars, natural health bars, banana, apple, rolled up turkey. You need to be prepared. And that's why the mothers loved my lunches so much and my kids' snacks, because my kids would have like a bento box, lunch box, like a fun lunchbox with compartments, and they had rolled turkey and they had chickpeas and hummus and cut vegetables, whole foods in a nice presentation, seaweed paper, but you want to be prepared. And it's talking about substitute products, because the next book that I want to do, so this is I Hungry, Secrets of Making Food Healthy and Fun for Parents and Children. But the next book that I'll be working on is I Really Hungry, and that'll be the secrets to healthy food options. Like we need to eat. Food is fuel for our body. We've gotten so far away from that concept, and we eat way more than our body needs to eat. But it's making the right choices, better substitute products.
Yeah, because you probably know this, like, can you talk about how nutrition really factors into mental health and how you feel?
For sure. Health is wealth. And I know if I ate like the kids eat, when you're just having fried food and you're not having all the nutrients, I would be fat, bloated, and cranky.
Yeah.
Right? With sugar. Right? And food really affects me. I'm very sensitive, but I become in tune with my body, and it's important to be in tune with your body. That's why the food diary is good, because let's say you ate something and then later you're feeling like an upset stomach or you're gassy or you're bloated, then you can look back, hey, what was the culprit that did that? Because sometimes you could have a reaction to food in like even like a delayed food allergy a couple of days later.
Yeah.
But the cause and the effect.
Yeah, because a lot of people have like a dairy intolerance, for example, and they don't even know it.
Most of the population does have a dairy intolerance. And if you think about it, we're the only mammal that drinks another mammal's milk. Every mammal has their own mammal's milk. And that's a very strong enzyme that's meant to take a calf to a cow, and it's a very dense protein in a very short time. And most of our bodies can't tolerate. I cannot tolerate it. I can't tolerate any type of milk, sheep's milk, goat's milk. So we don't have to have milk. It's been an industry that's been, advertising to have it, but there's many other foods that have calcium and, would build strong bones.
And what are some of those foods? I know broccoli is one, right?
Broccoli, all the leafy greens. I've been eating a lot of chia.
Yeah.
There's and things that are, all the milk substitute products as well.
Yeah. No. And
we have a lot more options these days that we didn't have before.
What do you think about the lactate milk?
I just don't think there's a reason to have milk. I think there's many other foods that you can have.
So you're probably not a proponent of cereal.
I also don't like mixing like a carbohydrate and a liquid together. I think that's harder on your digestion.
Oh, yeah.
I like to drink separately than the meal. To have you drink before the meal, and then maybe a little sips during the meal, and then drinking sometime after the meal, because it disrupts your absorption of the meal.
Okay, perfect. So what would you say to parents out there that are listening? Like, what are like some of your 3 to 5 top tips to start getting your kids to eat healthier?
Well, you want them to understand what they're eating and participate in it. So kids like to use their free will and make choices. You can't force kids to actually eat something or to sleep, but if they can participate in purchasing the food with you, picking out the meal, preparing the meal, they're using their free will and they're choosing what they want, and you're giving them good options with them to work with.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's true. Because if you kind of like get them excited, almost like you're gamifying their nutrition and how they're going to feel better. And have the schools gotten better about school lunches and what they're feeding the kids?
I don't think enough. I
Yeah.
think there's definitely more awareness. You have food pyramids and we know more about organic, but there's a lot of things made with seed oils and glyphosates, herbicides, fungicides, pesticides. I believe in the crowding out theory, which I learned in the school that I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And the crowding out theory, an example would be like, let's say you bring your children to a birthday party and you know they're going to have pizza and cake and junk food. I would feed my kids a whole delicious meal before the birthday party. So by the time they got to the birthday party, they really weren't hungry. And maybe they would have a little bit of cake or something just to participate, but they weren't starving.
Yeah. And are your
I
kids,
crowded it out.
I like that, the crowding out theory. I do like that. It's good for adults too when you're going to a holiday party.
Oh
Like you're
yes.
not showing up hungry.
I eat before I go out to parties because most of the time I can't eat what they're serving at the parties, and I don't know what the ingredients are because I don't eat gluten and dairy. I'm sensitive to both. And the recipes in my book, like half the book is stories and the other half is recipes. And so I like to be full before the party. I'm covered for the night.
Yeah, because it's usually like finger food, and then you end up consuming more crap than you would and more calories than you would. On top of that, you've got alcohol, or you just don't eat enough, and then you get too drunk, and then you're hungover. So that's a whole nightmare. So yes, eat before you eat before you go is probably the way to go. So you had mentioned seed oils, and I've seen a lot of this come up on like people on social media talking about it. What are the seed oils that we need to avoid?
Right. So I actually have a chart in the book that explains the oils. But you want to eat like oils, like there's oils that are polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. So you want to avoid sunflower oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, soybean, peanut, and canola. And instead, you want olive oil, cocoa butter, coconut oil, and macadamia nut oil.
Okay, interesting. And why are the seed oils so bad?
They just don't agree with the body.
Yeah.
They're highly processed, and they're usually rancid,
Okay.
and I think they're just really cheap.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you see a lot of people cooking with like vegetable oil or canola oil and all that stuff.
Right.
Because yeah, you're right.
Sure.
It is cheap for sure.
It causes a lot of inflammation in the body.
Yeah, I think like people don't realize that because before we got on, I was talking about a friend of mine who works out all the time, looks like they're in great shape. And I always tell them about their eating, it's still your arteries that are getting clogged. Even though you look like you're in shape, you're still being affected by it. So how do you get an adult, a much older adult, to start eating healthier and making better food choices? I mean, this person's going to like Wendy's, Subway, McDonald's. It's crazy.
Right. Because it's habit. It's conditioning. And when you feel great, so if you really are eating well and you feel great, there's a high like no other. When you've been sleeping well and your hormones are well and your skin looks good and your hair looks good and you have great energy,
Yeah.
and you have no ailments. You think about it, it's a moment of eating something, right? So let's say you're having like chocolate, like Hershey's, like a processed chocolate, right? So it's a moment and then it's gone. As compared to if you were having raw cacao and the natural where cocoa comes from with minerals, and that will actually fuel your body. So when you're having the right nutrients, it's so much better. The feeling when you feel good and you don't have ailments is so much better than the moment. So it's just making the right decisions and then finding the right things to substitute out for it.
Yeah, because I always tell him like you would feel so much better if you just started eating better. It's not that he feels bad, but you would just have more energy, you'd probably sleep better. Because I know like when I eat healthy, you're right, I do. I feel better. And at the end of the day, food is medicine and it affects
You
everything.
are
Like bad nutrition will age your
right.
skin like none other.
Right. You are what you eat. It goes into your digestion. It goes into your bloodstream, then into your cells, and then becomes you. So for an example, when I was growing up, I ate a lot of licorice. What was in the licorice? It was red dye, wax, sugar, and I hear lead.
Oh,
So that's what became me. Right? I didn't know any better, right? As
yeah.
compared to if my kids growing up having chia pudding, let's say, or just like a more nutritious snack, real food snack, like the seaweed paper.
Yeah.
They were given minerals, and they loved it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously as Americans, we eat way too much. The food industry was great at marketing and making profits. And so I think that people don't know what the proper amount of food is to eat. What is that? How do you kind of guide? Like
Right.
I've been trying to do fasting, so I don't really do breakfast anymore. I've taken that out.
Right. Well, it's really numbers, calories in, calories out. And you can track these things now when we have so many devices, and we have My
Yeah.
Fitness Pal. You can track your food intake, and then there's different devices you can wear to test your calorie outtake with your
Mhm.
exercise. It's just
Yeah.
numbers. I mean, everyone trying to do these shortcuts and all these different weight loss drugs now, when you want to do something that's for life, because diets typically don't work. Yes, so you lose weight, but you typically will go back to the weight that your body's used to and then gain more. And what was the
Yeah.
purpose of going through that? It's making life changes. There's no shortcuts. There's no quick, easy fix. It's
Yeah.
to make yourself feel good, make good choices. And yeah, so if you want to have less calories, you're skipping the breakfast. So I'll do a smoothie in the morning to skip a full meal to have less calories as well. But in that smoothie, I'm making sure I'm getting the proper nutrients in that.
Yeah, no, that's well said for sure. Yeah, because fasting's a big thing. I've been reading like a lot about fasting, so I'm trying to like limit my eating windows when I'm not going out. It's hard when you have events and things like that at night, but it's amazing when even though you get through those hunger pains when you're actually starving, it's like I think of it as like, oh, it's eating the bad cells in your body. So like keep going. But then it's amazing, like the days I eat less, like not as heavy and from the earth, as you said, like I do feel better. And like when I'm
Yeah.
trying to get the 1 day a week fast, like 24-hour fast, and I've come close. I've gotten to like 22 before I wanted to like rip my eyes out. I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. But I remember like I would start having more energy because I
Yes.
think a lot of the food we eat is not as pure as it should be. And it actually makes us tired and weighs us down.
Yes, because you're doing a cellular reset when you fast.
Yeah. So do you do any fasting?
I try, but I have low iron and I get very hangry. And
Yes,
I
too.
don't like being hangry. So I'm experimenting with that as well. Because I
Yeah.
know I know that it's good to take a break. You need to give your digestion a break.
Yeah. I think how I started building up to it is I started like getting shorter eating windows because you kind of got to shrink your stomach a little bit to prepare for it. But yeah, like
Right.
every doctor I've talked to is like, usually it's Mondays. I guess Mondays is like kind of a crazy admin day for a lot of people. So it's like they can just get through it and they'll fast. They'll like stop eating at like 5 or 6 o'clock on a Sunday, and then they'll break the fast and have dinner with their families. So I'm like, oh, that's a pretty easy way to do it. But then there's like, if you get to 36 hours, there's something called like, I don't know if it's autophagy or something, but that's when like your skin starts to tighten and like you get like all these benefits from it.
Right.
But you got to get to that point because you don't want to just have such low calories because then that's an eating disorder. That's not fasting anymore. Like either you eat
Right.
or you don't. You can't just
Right.
eat light. You know?
I find that it's best if you can stop eating like earlier in the evening and then not eat again till breakfast. But if you have a
Yeah.
busy life, that's hard to do.
Yeah. So let's
And you
talk
stop
about,
at 6 or 7 for the night.
yeah, because what is it, like 3 hours before you go to bed should be the last like calories you kind of consumed.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because then it's very hard on your digestion to have full stomach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, so what about going out to dinners? That's where most people, I know I struggle. Because even though you want to eat healthy, it's everything is just so packed with calories at these restaurants.
Right. So in the book, I describe in one of my favorite books is How to Eat for Your Blood Type.
Okay.
So there's all the science behind your blood type's diet. And I'm O positive, which is the most universal. And O positive needs high
I am
protein,
too.
low carb. So if you
Okay.
stick to more of that diet, then there's also like a breakdown. You could get the book or you can get the app, and it gives you more of the foods that are better for that blood type. So once again, it's like making those better choices. So when you go to the restaurant, you're picking things like I know that I don't do well in carbohydrates. I do better eating fish, meat, and vegetables than I would rice and grains and potato and starches.
Yeah, but gosh, carbs are so good sometimes, but they do. They make you tired, they make you bloated. It's like, blah. So let's talk about the importance of fiber and list off kind of some fiber foods because I feel like most people don't get enough fiber and then they're backed up and they're bloated and they start having gut health issues.
But you know what the thing is with fiber, and everybody's unique and different because
Yeah.
some people need a lot of fiber and some people don't. I know with myself that I don't do so well with fiber. So it's really about the bio individuality for people.
Okay.
So to get in tune with your body. That's why the food diary is so good. You're seeing the results of what works and what doesn't work for your body.
No, that I mean it makes sense. Yeah, because I know I get bloated and I think it's like the dairy, but maybe it's the carbs.
It could be the fiber.
I don't feel like I'm eating enough fiber though.
You don't know until you do the diary.
I
Then you can look back and see.
That's true. I actually was so starving. I was running an errand yesterday and I was like so hungry. And I'd seen somebody post about like the grilled chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A and I see a drive-through and I'm like, whip in there as fast as I can. And I got the grilled chicken nuggets. There's like 8 of them. It's only 140 calories and like 25 grams of protein. And then I did it with the honey mustard sauce. It was actually pretty good.
But it's really not about the calories. It's about the food itself. It's how the nutrient dense food, like if you're eating an avocado, which is a higher calorie, but your body's going to utilize that as fuel. Calories, I would never even look at calories. You want to
Interesting.
look at the
Okay.
food itself, and you want to have a better food, not made in those oils, because the oils will get you.
You're right. So Chick-fil-A, I guess you're out. You're out. I've never cooked chicken in my life. I feel like I'd kill myself because I wouldn't cook it all the way through. I guess I could
But
buy like organic, already made chicken.
But I want to talk about, you're saying hungry, because the book I Hungry, we all go through this every day. I hungry. The title stemmed from my son saying I hungry all the time. But the key is you're hungry. This goes off in your mind. I'm hungry. And what are you going to do about it? Right? What's the next step of how to satisfy that hunger?
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's like the choices that you make. But I like how you said earlier, like about the snacks and like kind of having like raw almonds or something, because what happens is we end up making poor choices when we get to that point where we're so hungry. We just need something and we end up grabbing something that's probably not good for us.
Right. I have food in the car. When I'm traveling, I have food in my suitcase. I always have something on me. And people always know to like, oh, you have anything for me? I'm starving. I'm so used to carrying it with them from the children. And even to today, when my kids are in college, I'm still carrying the food around with me. I'm prepared. I have my food and my water always.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so what are the best fruits to eat and what is the best time of day to consume fruits? Is it just the morning?
Okay, so I'm not a believer of fruits mixing in during the day with your food because
Okay.
it will actually ruin the digestion of because the sugar turns in the body and it ferments the food. So if you're going to have fruit, you want it on an empty stomach in the morning and not mixing it with anything else throughout the day.
Really? Okay, so you should eat fruit first thing when you eat and then no more after that.
That's it. I don't mix fruit. I used to love to have like fruit with the food. I used to like melon and prosciutto. I don't do food combining is a big thing now too.
Okay.
Some foods just don't do so well together. And
So
then I don't.
what about like if you're like want an afternoon snack of like a clementine, but it's by itself, but you've already eaten other stuff. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't do it.
Okay, good to
Right.
know.
But
Yeah,
that's once again, that's me personally on my body, right? You have to find out how that affects you.
yeah. No,
But
that's
there's a
so
lot of
interesting.
studies. There's studies about that. And I also want to mention you talked about different fruits and vegetables. So there's a list called the Dirty Dozen of 12 different fruits and vegetables that you really should buy organic. You know, this is all in the book because
Okay.
they're sprayed, very highly sprayed with pesticides. And then there's a list of the clean 15 of fruits and vegetables that have lower pesticide content.
Okay, and so what are the higher pesticide fruits?
No, number one is strawberries, then spinach, kale, mustard greens and collard greens, nectarines, apples. Those are the worst five. And
Wow. Okay.
on the clean 15, you have avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, onions, and papaya on the top five of the clean lower pesticides. So that's just thing in general that you have to be more aware of.
And what about grapes?
Grapes are number 6 on the Dirty Dozen.
Okay, so always wash your grapes
Buy organic.
and buy organic.
Buy
Okay.
organic. Try to
Yeah.
buy organic as much as you can on everything.
Yeah. No, it's true. So what about people that are on a budget?
You know, you think about rice, beans, chicken, fruits and vegetables, that it's real food. It's not, I mean, you're going to have a processed food that's less money. It's,
Right.
I don't, you don't have to eat expensive.
Well, I also think too, nutrition plays such a key factor in your overall health that like spending a little more on your food and cutting back in other areas if you have to, it's going to cost you later more
Exactly.
with
Health.
doctor visits, being sick, your like everything, you know, like your food is everything. And you see all these people like at the gym too, and they're working out and they're running and doing all this crazy stuff, but then people don't realize like that's only 20% of your like diet. Like 80% is really what you put into your mouth.
Health is wealth. Bottom
Yeah.
line.
It's true. So what do you think about because this has been a big thing that's talked about a lot too, is celery juice.
Celery juice is supposed to be very healthy. Doesn't work for me. I don't like to have raw on my digestion. I like to have, I don't do well raw unpasteurized. But a lot of people, they really like it and it's very cleansing.
Okay, now let's talk about protein because protein is a huge thing, especially when you're trying to lose weight and you're lifting. Okay, the calories in, the calories out, but you need 1 gram of protein for every pound you weigh. So trying to get over 100 grams of protein while you're losing weight, how can you do that to do the calories as well?
Right. See, I try not to complicate things because all these things will make you crazy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it simple. Right. I'm just trying to get it down to the basics of finding out your blood type and eating more close to the earth, and crowd out the bad things and making choices. and, just trying to feel good and understand what you're eating and
Yeah.
not overthink it and make it into a whole job.
Yeah. So you said your blood type does well with more protein, less carbs. So
Yeah.
how are you making sure you're getting all your protein? What are some things that you're eating to do that?
I'm just eating, meats and fishes and vegetables or protein, but I'm not counting it and really. I mean, you can go to my fitness plan and get the breakdown, but I'm not really looking that in depth to it where it's going to make me then more stressed about it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're like, this is going crazy.
I go more by how I feel.
Okay. So what are vegetables that have a higher protein count? 'Cause I've heard broccoli because a lot of vegetarians will do broccoli.
Honestly, I don't even make myself too crazy with that as well. I'm more about having variety in the diet and having rotation in the foods. Because that's
Okay.
another thing that I talk about is that we tend to eat the same things too much, and then our bodies don't have a chance to really process it and get it out of our system. And sometimes some of the best foods, let's say it's even an avocado, or like some people eat eggs every day. You don't want to eat the same foods all the time. There's so many different cultures and so many different foods. It's expanding your horizons. One of the tricks I do with the kids, I do no thank you bites. So you're trying something new, and you have, the kids will take a bite, and they'll taste it. They don't like it, no thank you. But at least you're getting them to try it. And sometimes it takes as much as 15 times to have children try to get them used to a new food. And one of the reasons why is their taste buds are super strong. Like your taste buds start out really strong and then they dull over your lifetime. And then you think about older people that they hardly want to eat because they hardly taste the food anymore. So everything's so strong to them. They know that when they get food, they like smell it. They have to check it out. Like they're
Yeah.
going to be a strong taste for them. And
That's
the texture,
interesting. Yeah, it's
texture.
interesting you said that how your taste buds start to like go away as you get older because most elderly people don't eat a lot.
Right. If you're not tasting, you're not enjoying it. Why bother?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a very, very good point. And so let's talk about like because we have this huge problem in our society with obviously mental health. People are anxious. There's just so much going on. There's so much negativity. They're anxious, they're depressed. Like nutrition clearly plays a big factor in this, right? Because maybe they're not at the ideal body they want, their skin doesn't look good. This plays into confidence, that plays into depression. Like, what are some things like do you have any like mood boosting foods that you would suggest for
Well,
people?
most people are probably lacking vitamin Bs, especially if they
Okay.
live in cities and the hustle and bustle. Like you go through these right away, and
Yeah.
a lot of places you're not getting the proper sunlight, and you're probably missing vitamin D. Like those nutrients are like where most people are depleted in. And also we're really depleted in minerals these days as well because the earth has been depleted. The soil has been depleted as well. So, I like to substitute in with supplements, but I do it supervised. I do it through blood work and with
Yeah.
different doctors and nutritionists, especially as we get older. As I'm now, go in midlife, so going, menopause and that type of stuff, and then you're losing calcium and whatnot. So
Yeah.
you really want to get blood work done at least once a year and just see where you nutritionally are at.
No, that's very smart. I think a lot of people don't think to do that as far as like the nutrition goes. And then what about supplements? A lot of people take supplements because we can't get everything we need through our food.
Right. I like supplements. They've worked for me, but I don't think you should guess at supplements. I think that they should be, through a nutritionist or a doctor.
Okay, gotcha.
I think that's worth it in the long run to have the right nutrients to prevent the cost of being sick.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm like good. Like there's certain vitamins I will take every day. Like NAC is one because it like helps my immune system and I don't get sick. And then vitamin D, because I'm like, every time I go, I'm usually deficient in it. But like B, I don't take enough of. Like I need to get better, like about like, but the problem is when you don't eat, you have to make sure you do them like at lunchtime. Like if you're not eating
Right.
in the morning. My parents
Right.
have taken like 30 plus vitamins a day since I was born. It's bananas. Like,
Right.
how do you guys do this?
Right. It's the bio-individuality with the supplements as well. You don't want to overdo it. You want to get the right amount, checking with the blood work.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, you don't want to be taking too much. You know, if they were all water soluble, it'd be easy because you could just take them on an empty stomach. But some of them you take and they're not. And if you don't have enough food, it's like, whoop, here we go.
Plus, if you're traveling, it's an extra thing you have to deal with.
Right. No, absolutely. No, it's very, very true. Okay, so where can
But
people find you and buy your book to learn more
sure.
information?
Yes. So my book is on Amazon. I
Okay.
Hungry. Ruth J. Katz is my name. You can also go to my website, ruthkatz.com. I'm certified health coach from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I'm licensed as a health practitioner if anyone wants counseling. And the youth is our future.
It is true, right? Set them up on good eating patterns and you know, and hopefully these companies will, you know, you should start working with companies too, because there a lot of these corporations are paying for the health insurance and they would save a ton of money if they had less sick employees. So really get with the nutrition on that too, you know,
Yes.
because it is so important because yeah, when you eat good, you feel good. When you eat bad, you feel great for the moment and then you regret it.
Right. Well, I know from my experiments in health with myself and with my two dogs that were completely in my control, they lived to about 110 in people years with no ailments because they were on the Ruth diet. And with
Wow.
my kids, I mean, my kids grew up to men,
Yeah.
athletes, high college level, students, and they had the life that I didn't have, and it really showed. They hardly got sick, and they are in good schools, and their bodies are fit and strong. And it's like, you do this, you get this.
Yep, that's true. Your decisions impact your life and every decision, even down to the food choices. So be careful what you put in your mouth. But before I let you go, let's just talk about water consumption because that is very important too. How much water should people be getting per day?
Right. So I only drink out of glass. I mean, if I'm out on the road and I have to drink out of plastic, I will. But I don't want to have the plastic in my body. And I only drink filtered water. And I also try to drink some alkaline water. I don't want to be too alkaline, but that you don't want to also be too acid
Yeah.
because cancer thrives in acidity. So you want to be more alkaline. And you can get urine strips that you can urine on the strips and then just see your pH level. It's really no big deal just to check your pH, just to make sure you're in the right, you're not too acid, not too alkaline.
Very interesting. No, that's a good advice. I didn't think about that. And you get those strips at like Walgreens, right?
Yes, you can,
Drugstore.
pick them up on Amazon as well. They're very inexpensive.
Yeah, I should be doing that. I'm probably more acidic than I think.
We usually are because you get acidic from drinking coffee. Coffee is the number one most
I do drink.
acidic food, and it's really a drug in a mug. You really want to be more alkaline, and also
Mm.
carbonated water that's too acidic as well.
Oh God, you just ruined my morning. Coffee is like my go-to.
But
I
you know
always
what
take two
though?
cups, but I'm like, maybe I should just do one.
But you know what? I don't want to be controlled by anything because people get like crazy, like, oh, can't function until I have my coffee. You don't want anything to control you.
Oh, I like
You're in
that. Yeah.
charge, right?
Yeah, no, that's very well said. But then you mentioned the bubbly waters. That is all the rage right now.
I used to drink that all the time. My kids used to make it with the machine. But then when I tested to see how acid it was, I realized you're putting gas into your digestion. You're much better off having flat, still water, mineral water.
Yeah, because then it probably makes you bloated too, those sparkling waters.
It definitely does. And this will, I think, quench your thirst better. when you don't have the
Oh, yeah.
gas.
Sparkling water does not hydrate you. At least it doesn't for me. Like when people just drink bubbly water, I'm like, you're not hydrating yourself. Like I actually feel more dehydrated when I drink bubbly water. But again, everything in moderation because we're all going to die. So you want to enjoy life too, but you want to make sure your body functions until you exit the earth.
Right. Well, this is my theory on moderation, because we always say that, but when you do the food diary, you realize you're not really doing moderation.
Yes, you're right. Okay, I'm gonna start my food diary. I gotta see. I'll be like, I'll snap a picture and you'll be like, Madison.
I always give a silly example, and it's like, well, I do cocaine sometimes. Well, it's either you do cocaine or you don't do cocaine. It's like you're doing something bad, you're doing something that's not healthy. It's like it's a black or white thing, right? So when we say in moderation, well, once in a while I'm having cocaine. Does that make that okay? Moderation.
No. Yeah, right. You're like, well, it's not that bad. No. This is true. No, that makes sense. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for your insightful tips. I know that I am inspired to eat better. We've had nutritionists on this podcast, and I always love having you guys on because it kind of gives me that reboot to want to eat even better. And I love your fruit thing because I was eating fruit midday. And so I'm going to try to change that and see how I feel. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing these tips with us.
Of course. It's such a great feeling when you feel good. And I love sharing the knowledge and just that it's a journey, right? It's just to look at yourself, look what you're doing and think about, well, what's best for me and what's best for my family.
I love it. Very well said. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone listening, wherever you may be. We appreciate you. Don't forget to share if you love this episode, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help us keep getting the word out so we can keep bringing you amazing content to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. We'll see you next time on Next to Madison to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.